And the spaceman came down to answer some things, and the world travelled round from paupers to kings. I have no idea what that means, but what I have some clue about was the UFC that was on this morning for me. And it was a very, very hyped and much talked about show. We discussed it here down on the land of BuffbeenStuffed. We talked about Aldo and Mcgregor, the original fight, how big that was for that weight class, how big that was for the sport, how it was one of the biggest fights of the year, and unfortunately Aldo had to pull out due to injury. And then the X Factor Chad Mendes was put in. And then this created an even greater debate because people said, now we're going to see what happens when Conor gets put in there with a wrestler. Now we're going to see how good he is on the ground. Now we're going to see how good he is getting off of his back. Now we're going to see how good he is, period. And a lot of fans favoured Mendes in this fight from the people that I came across. Lots of people seem to favour Mendes. It was almost like the McGregor fight was so big it took a life of its own. And we forgot that there was an entire UFC card to watch in addition to that. And my thoughts on the fights and the show itself, I saw Jeremy Stephens, Dennis Bermudez. I saw that flying knee. Listen, Bermudez always has very, very, very good fights. But it's kind of like he's going a bit up and down again at the moment. I don't know where he's going to go now. He was on a bit of a win streak, and then he lost the fight, and then he lost another fight. So Bermudez is very up and down, but he's a very good fighter. That was crazy. That was a crazy knee that he got taken out with. The prelims were all decisions, but yeah, you know, get what you get. Except for the Matt Brown fight, he won by submission. Then we just fuck it. Let's cut out the excess fat. Robbie Lawler, Lawler Mcdonald. Right. I have always been a Robbie Lawler fan. I have always been a guy that gets pumped up, that gets up for a Robbie Lawler fight. Because this is a man who comes to fight. This is a man that puts on a show. This is a man that pulls no punches and holds nothing back and gives you everything that he has when he steps into that octagon. I have always been a fan of his from the days of the early UFC Zuffa days when he was a teenager and he was fighting Nick Diaz and he was a prospect at welterweight. I followed his career when he became a middleweight outside of the UFC and he was fighting in Hawaii of all places. He fought Jason Mayhem Miller and Frank Trigg when he fought in Elite XC. The potential was always there, and at a time he seemed to be fulfilling it. And then he kind of went on this downswing, and it was almost like Robbie Lawler was just going to be a journeyman fighter. He wasn't going to get any higher than he had been. He had that loss to Jake Shields, and then it was just up and down and up and down and up and down. And then he goes to the UFC, reinvigorates himself as a welterweight, and it's just been like this Robbie Lawler right now, from that time to present day, has been a killing machine. Yeah, he lost to Hendricks in a close decision, but he redeemed himself and came back 4 fights later and wins the belt. And that's a hell of a career turnaround. And something that I take very personal inspiration from in my own life. Then you see him in there with the highly touted, highly regarded Golden Boy, the next George St. Pierre, the welterweight John Jones in Rory McDonald in a rematch from a fight they had in November. And I know a lot of people favoured Rory because Rory had been on this comeback. He kind of found that killer instinct again, that fight in him. He beat Damian Maia. He told us that the animal was back. And they had a hell of a fight. Hell of a fight. Very close first round for Rory. Second round to Robbie. Back and forth, back and forth. But then the 5th round, I'm thinking, fuck man, Robbie, you got to pull something out here now, man. Come on, man, Robbie. I'm sweating here. I mean, I don't want to see you lose here. Come on, Robbie. And then he just switches it up in the 5th round and takes out Rory. Like, he beat the piss out of Rory McDonald in that 5th round. Rory McDonald's face, whatever's left of it, God help us. God, that was brutal. And that's what people want to see. People want to see fights. People want to see wars. In MMA, you want to see a bit of everything, but you need to be at least seeing one war a fight, one war a card. And we got one in Robbie Lawler. And as far as I'm concerned, not just Ruthless Robbie Lawler. Let's call him Ruthless Robbie the King Lawler after Jerry Lawler. I think he put on a hell of a fight. He is definitely the best welterweight in the world. And I would say that GSP leaving the UFC and leaving the welterweight division has been the best thing for that division now, because it's just opened up the division in so many different ways. And I hope, I'll tell you what, I'd love to see Robbie Lawler and Carlos Condit next. I would love to see that fight. I think that would be awesome. Congratulations to Robbie Lawler. Absolutely jazzed that he won. I'm going to rewatch that fight again, hopefully, if I can get some time and squeeze one in. So I really need to be careful saying that, squeeze one in. Hopefully, if I can get some time, I can try and watch it later. Then we go to the main event, McGregor versus Mendes. And of course, there was a lot of drama the night before at the weigh-in. If you haven't seen that funny video of McGregor and Faber getting into one as McGregor's going to check his weight on the scales. And it was like, to me, Team Alpha Male were like a version of the Cobra Kai, if you've watched that UFC Embedded. They did come off a little bit like that, actually. But you watch the fight with McGregor and Mendes, and pretty much what I thought would happen did happen to an extent. Mendes got those takedowns. He was able to take down Conor, and he was able to keep top position. He wasn't really going to pass his guard. He was quite content just laying in the spot that he was in and working from there and hitting some punches. He hit Conor with an elbow that busted him open. But what I want to emphasize and point out is before that takedown, standing up, McGregor was hitting him with shots to the body. He hit him kicks to the body and punches to the body, and he was landing straight. And I think that what he did in those early rounds set up for what was going to happen at the end of the second round. Because I think those punches to the body hurt a lot more than they care to acknowledge. He definitely hurt him. I can tell you that right now. Because if you look at the end of the first round after Chad had that takedown and you see how they were sitting, despite the fact that McGregor had the cut over his eye and that McGregor was down on his back for quite a bit of that round, if you look at Mendes was like... And I don't think that was just coming from being gassed. I think he was tired, but I think that those shots that McGregor hit him with hurt him. And then when McGregor did it again, I could tell that he'd hurt him. When Mendes got the takedown, Mendes was able to kind of keep him down and he was hitting the punches. McGregor this time did work from off of his back. I will give him that. He was trying to hit elbows from off of his back. He kind of stayed patient because you don't want to, give up too much energy when you're like, you want to kind of pick your spots carefully when you want to get up, otherwise you're going to burn yourself out. That also makes me think that the strategy was to make Mendes wear himself out with wrestling and then take advantage of him later on in the third round. Possibly, it's just my interpretation of it. Mendes and McGregor are on the ground. Mendes goes for a guillotine, I believe. McGregor is able to get back up, and then the fight's standing up, and then they are striking, and McGregor's doing his, can't hurt me, can't hurt me, and then out of nowhere, McGregor just hits him to the body with a kick, I think. Then he hits him in the face, then he hits him again, and he hits him again, and then you just see Mendes just drop right to the ground like that, and then he just finishes him in a shock to a lot of people, maybe not to the Irish, especially the Irish folk down my road who I could hear making noise. But McGregor wins, and McGregor is now the UFC interim featherweight champion. And I tell you what, this may erase a lot of doubts for McGregor. I think what we got from this and what we learned from this is that McGregor can be taken down. We know that. But he went in there with a very, very tough guy and went the distance and finished him. He finished him. He didn't give up. He finished him. A lot of guys, when they get taken down again and again and again, they'll just be, come on, fight. McGregor, he kept it up here, and then he was able to take him out. So McGregor won. Obviously, the obvious thing to say is he's going to need a better sprawl, he's going to need a better takedown defense. But the fact is, he beat an elite level fighter at his weight class. And I think that the debate of, McGregor's been spoon-fed opponents, he wasn't spoon-fed Mendes, and there was a great risk that he would lose that fight. And I think on top of the crazy Irish celebrations that are probably going to go on through the rest of the weekend, on top of all of that, you now have the first fighter from the United Kingdom. Well, I don't know how you want to do it. You got the first Irish fighter to be a champion. And this is not like Sheamus winning the WWE belt because he worked out with Triple H. This is a real fighter going in there, beating an elite level fighter. And on top of that now, I think that this makes Aldo and McGregor, when that eventually happens, perhaps an even bigger fight. If people thought it was going to do a million buys and debated whether or not it will, I think it will now. Because he beat an elite guy. He finished an elite guy. He took him out. He finished him. And now that debate of, oh, well, he's been spoon-fed and hand-fed. He's been protected. He wasn't protected that night. And I know there's some conspiracy theorists going out there saying, oh, the fight was a fix. And get out of here with that, please. The fact is, McGregor won. He's the champion. And champion versus champion, Aldo versus McGregor, that is the biggest featherweight fight in its history. And I said it before. I said it about a year ago, man. The rise of the featherweights is coming. You lot might not believe it. You lot may not see it. But like in Sabah Noor, I see things way into the future. And guess what? Looks like that future is happening right now. Featherweights are on the rise. Featherweights are on the tear. Featherweight may become the division in the future. And you heard it from me first. I am out. Let me know what you think. Let me know how you feel. Did you have a great time watching that? Did you feel McGregor showed you anything in that fight? Do you feel that Lawler Mcdonald is going to be able to come back from this loss? Will he eventually be a welterweight champion? How do you feel about the Robbie Lawler fight? How do you feel about the rest of it? How are you feeling anyways? Comment down below. Let me know. Give me a like and hit that subscribe button if you want more. Take care. I am out.